Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you are connecting from today. My name is Enrique Rubio, and I am the founder of our global community, Hacking HR. We are a global community and a learning platform for business and people leaders and professionals. And we have been doing this for 9 years and great journey. And every now and then, through our social media channels, we interview great friends of the community who have written phenomenal ideas in their books, in their research, and we have them here with us to share some of those insights with all of us here in the community. So I am very excited to talk today about building a coaching culture with a very good friend of the Hacking HR community, phenomenal business and HR leader, Kim Lee. I'm going to bring her in just 1 second to the screen. We are going to have a conversation about her book. So I'll let you know more about it in just 1 second. But in the meantime, to those of you connected on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn Live, please let us know where you are connecting from. Engage in the conversation. We will be together for the next half an hour or so. So anything, excuse me, anything that you want to ask, anything that you want to say, anything that you feel that you want to share with Kim and I or with the rest of the community, please feel free to use the chats and the comment section in whatever platform you are connecting today. So it would be great to see where everybody's tuning in from. So thank you so much, everybody, once again for being here. I'm going to let Kim join me on the screen this morning. Kim, good morning. How are you
Morning.
doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's springy where I live. Surprisingly, because generally in Flagstaff, Arizona, where I am, it's winter until like May. But right now, it's incredibly warm. So kind of weird. But hey, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you to talk about building a coaching culture. And I would love to begin here just for you to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us more about Kim's story, who you are, your background, and anything else that you want to share with the community.
Oh, yeah. So I'm in the Sacramento, California area, and I have been in HR for a really long time. I never share the entirety of my career, but I started my career on accident. I was going to school to be a teacher, and I was putting myself through college. And I happened to start a job in HR just to, you know, pay the bills while I was going through school. And by the time I graduated, I was fully in my career. And I loved it. So I eventually went back and got my degree in business. So the degree matched what I was trying to accomplish. But that was how I started. I absolutely loved HR. When I did start, it was still more transactional. But
Mhm.
I have been so thrilled to watch how the industry, the field, and the people have transitioned away, from that piece to really driving business, driving culture, supporting initiatives and goals and alignment to the field. So that is kind of short version of my story.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And I don't think you. Well, you're. I don't think no. I am. I know that you're not the only one who ended up working in HR by an accident of the universe and ended up falling in love with it. I am one of those, by the way. And I never thought. Uh, I never thought about HR as a career. It never crossed my mind, and here we are, right?
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So let me ask you something. You've been before. You wanted to be a teacher. You worked on that. Then you ended up. I need to work in HR to pay the bills. But then it's been many years that you've been in the field. So and you've worked as everybody else. You are in the most senior level in HR today, and you've gone through all the layers. So, but now you wrote a book, and the book is about coaching. So why this book? Why this topic? Why now?
Well, so one thing that I have, well, I'll start a different way. Um, I was a swimmer in high school, and that kind of fell into that too. I went to the tryouts because my friends were, and it seemed like kind of the why not thing. And I had loved swimming, but never had done anything competitive. My coach he put me into varsity my freshman year, and not only varsity but swimming butterfly, which was super weird. But I did well. I loved it, and I from there I in reflecting back, I recognized how that impacted me. Another thing is my son played football for years, and my husband was a football coach, and the things that you learn from watching that, not just being coached, but watching how coaches impact players. And everybody is being coached because they want to be their best. The
Mm,
team wants to do their best. So I start the book talking about that concept, and trying to step away from what feedback seems to default to and feel like to folks, and kind of give a different perspective of what that is. And the book itself is a playbook. I have, throughout my career, and I know most folks on the watching have also read lots of books. So one of my favorite ones is Radical Candor, and a number of those. But the thing that I always felt that was missing was something that was really actionable for managers. So somebody
mm,
going from an individual contributor into a manager role. There's a lot of concepts and theories and things like that in books.
mm.
This one I really felt was how to put that into action. So that was the intent and purpose. Um, I did sort of start the book as more of a journaling exercise. I had some challenging experiences in my past, and I was kind of putting that on paper, and then it turned into how do I fix this? So
Yeah,
that's what we did.
yeah, love the story. And you said before, when you were describing why you wrote this book, you said, well, I was coached, and then, your husband is a football coach, and it's because you want individual people and the team to do their best and to be their best. But now, if that is true, which I know it is, and I concur with that idea, but being that that is true, why is it that for such a long time, coaching in the workplace has been treated as a luxury that is only reserved to the more executive people? When, number one, everybody in different levels is contributing to the achievement of the goals of the organization. Number two, there are people who are not at the executive level who may eventually be there if you're properly building your strategic workforce planning and your talent pipelines. So why has it been only reserved traditionally for that layer at the top of the hierarchy in an organization?
I think it's the cost. Having as much as it would be a super awesome experience to have this coach to help build that in a manager. You think about, there's a lack of investment. So a lot
Yeah.
of organizations, many organizations, the ones that are actually forward thinking, will have some sort of management training, but still, um, as many of us do, you go to a workshop, you go to training, you come away with a lot of different ideas, and
Yeah.
you have some passion behind it, but you go back to your job and you have deliverables, and you have things to, and you just default back to the way you were, and because that's just what um, coaching itself is expensive. So
Yeah.
you get, people who are more senior in their career can either themselves afford it, or their organization is willing to invest in coaching, but it is it's limited. You don't have the means to provide that type of support to everybody coming into that role.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that, I mean, fortunately, um, we are now seeing so many platforms, that allow for coaching at scale, and hopefully we see more of high quality coaching, not just
Mhm.
coaching at a scale that is not real quality, right? We see that become more prevalent in the workplace. So thank you for sharing that. Now, like, the core framework in the book, building a coaching culture, is the ripple effect. That is a core concept that you have developed throughout the book. So please explain to us, like, the basics, the fundamentals of the ripple effect, and as much as you can share about the framework here in this interview.
So the framework really starts with meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
And when you have, whether you are a manager coaching an employee, this can be peer to peer even. It's getting one, understanding that we're all trying to work towards the same goal and coming at the conversation, the thought process, and the intention is with the best intent. The understanding most people really do want to do their best, and
Mm.
they may be struggling for different reasons, and taking the time to better understand that and how you can support. There is a part in my book where I talk about coaching for different generations. So Gen X, we didn't get a lot of coaching or feedback early in my career. So that is definitely a different conversation. For those that are more, entering the workforce now, are used to, because of social media and others, really real-time feedback. They post something and they get likes or not likes and comment, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so they're used to that, and understanding that we have to change how we approach that. So that situational behavioral type interaction. But as you're building that and understanding and trying to have those conversations where people feel seen and feel supported and really do feel like this is a development that we're trying to accomplish, as opposed to you've done something wrong or this is something concerning. When you start having those conversations, people feel they feel it.
Mm.
It's not just on paper, and that spreads. So I have a number of case studies in there where you can see a change in culture when that starts to take place. I had that within my team for sure, multiple times. But also when you see a new leader who comes in and has a very different approach, you can see how people are now creative and they feel like they're contributing, and they see how their role is aligned to what we're all trying to accomplish, and they feel that connection
Yeah.
to what we're all trying to do. So again, talking about sports, Tom Brady needed a coach, right? He's this the culture within the Patriots and Bill Belichick certainly different than other teams, but um, everyone there was trying to be their best because they wanted to win. And
Yeah.
coming at it at that with that perspective goes a long way.
Yeah. I love that. You talked in the book about coaching impacting culture in the organization, cascading down or rippling,
Mhm.
down. I don't know if that's a thing, but rippling down in the entire corporate echelon, right? Can you describe a little bit more about how that works? What happens when you start coaching? And it doesn't have to be the top of the hierarchy. It can be the leader of a team where everybody's it's a team where it's mostly flat, or a functional area where it's mostly flat. What happens for the culture of the organization when you start coaching those leaders?
Well, it's if a manager isn't open to coaching and feels like they are the only ones who can make the decisions, the only ones who can do the work, they're not going to get the best from their team. You want your team to show up. And so whether you are a new manager with a new team, you're all trying to accomplish things, you're all trying to do things, and you have goals. And if you're communicating those and coaching and developing and all working towards those goals, you get more buy-in. So, thinking back about my swimming days, if my coach had decided that he was the best one to swim and pulled me out and decided to swim the race myself, I'm certainly not going to jump back in and, get up at 5 a.m. the next morning to show up for practice. Because you start to lose what's the point even to any of this if I'm trying my best and I don't know what's going wrong, I'm not sure where the issue is, this person feels like they're going to do it, then I'm not going to show up again with everything that I have. So the ripple effect is you have employees that are far more engaged. You have people who feel like they're developing in the way that they're aspiring to. They see the connection to their work and the business goals and how to achieve those. And so you have a higher performing team. You have a team that's collaborative. They feel safe. They feel they can stretch. They can grow. And there was one at my one of my teams, well, almost all of my teams, people would come with all kinds of ideas about how we could make some changes and improvements and processes and things like that. And it was almost always, that's a great idea. Do you feel like you want to take the lead on that? And, and these were people, some of them were interns, some of them were highly experienced. It was just giving them, this is a great idea, let's explore it, as opposed to shutting it down. And when you have that space, you have a team that will accomplish far more than if you have, if they don't feel that support. And, there was plenty of times where I've talked about, hey, we're all learning this together, so let's do this together, and we're all developing and coaching each other. Feedback goes both ways. It's not just a leader providing feedback. Certainly, leaders need to be open to feedback as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to pick up on something that you said at the end, which I had already prepared actually as a question, but you said it's a great segue, which is we're coaching each other. It's not just the leader coaching the people, it's we're coaching each other. So a couple of questions are, number one, so that means that a coach doesn't necessarily have to be like one of those certified coaches, right, that we see out there in the market. So number one. But the second question, which I would love for you to spend a little bit more time on after this first question, if we all need to be coaches, but the second question is this: is everybody coachable? And I know that's kind of a strange question, but do you feel that there is a point when you have given enough opportunities to a person, to a manager, to be coached, to do the right thing? I'm not just talking about the goals of the organization. You have the greatest performers can be jerks. So number one, how can we all be coaches? And do we need to be certified? And number two, is everybody coachable? And if the answer to that is no, not everybody's coachable, what do you do when you have already exhausted all the avenues to coach them? So a two-part question in there.
Yeah. So no, you don't have to be a certified coach. I think if you think back to just any activity that you've done, whether you don't have to be an athlete, you could have band, anything that you're doing to perform, you've had some experience with that. Schools, we get you go all through school, college, everything, you're getting feedback and coaching and developing by learning, and it's a safer space. Yes, you're graded, and there's you can fail, but the teacher, the instructor, the professor is giving you feedback on what you're doing. So we all have some experience with what that looks like and what that feedback loop looks like. So yes, there's different, I actually have an app that I developed that can help with that too. But this is more about the book than the app. So yes, anyone can coach. You need to be able to ask questions, and you need to be open to hearing the responses, and not waiting, not just waiting for the next answer that you're ready to give. You need to ask and dig deeper into, the conversations that you're having, so you have a good handle on the situation. Coaching is also about helping employees or people or your connections, your peers, to help see the answer themselves. I mean, I think we've all had that a time where you just have to talk to somebody to talk it out. It's something similar to that, where you're just asking those questions and helping people get to the answer on their own. Coaches aren't there just to tell people how to do things. It's making observations. It's giving suggestions, and things like that. So to that question, no, you can. There are great certified coaches, and there's definitely a path and a reason for that, but in everyday life, you can certainly do, perform as a coach
Yeah.
in your work. The other question, no, not
Now
everybody's
the
good.
tricky one.
Yes. So, we hear a lot about growth mindset and being, high emotionally intelligent, and understanding your impact, and how you are as a person, and being self-aware. There are people who that's just they're not, and
Mm.
they're not open to feedback. They do believe that their way is the right way. I think micromanagers kind of highlight that it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing; they're the ones who know all the answers.
Yeah.
And so, and certainly micromanagers get way far up in careers. And so it's not that it limits them necessarily, unfortunately, but you can get to people who just they're just not bought in. It could be a
Mm.
multitude of reasons. It may or may not have anything to do with your style. Like, hopefully it's not, if you're really putting forth a good coaching effort. So those are times that it's unfortunately time to exit. Again, you see it in sports teams, right? Players get cut, coaches get cut. So there is a time and a place where you have to just say that this is not the right role. This is not the right organization. This is not the right culture. This is not a fit. But it's certainly not, because if you're putting forth the coaching effort and trying to have those conversations, it could be the person on the other side just isn't open.
Yeah, yeah. I am thinking about all those. I mean, you keep referring to sports, and I am thinking about all those teams that have, like, pretty much everybody's a star, and they still lose a lot.
Mhm.
You know, and I am
Yes.
thinking about those teams where maybe you have the one or two stars, in the team, the minority individual stars, but the team is winning all the time. You know, I'm obviously thinking about, I mean, I was a big fan of the NBA in the 1990s. And, when Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen would be asked, like, what would be the greatest team that you could ever assemble? And they would say, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, and the coach, and you can put the other two, whoever they are, we're going to win. So it is individual people, but it's also the coaching and the team performing at their best, right? So I love that. But I'm also thinking, not everybody's coachable, but like you said, at some point it is time to just say, we just have to make the tough choices when it comes to
Yes.
that.
And there's also, and I've said it certainly in some of the courses that I've and panel discussions that I've participated with you, that every company has a culture, whether or not it's defined.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of companies that really do try and make sure they have those values defined, but there is a culture. And if you aren't aware of that, and you're talking about the employee experience, the candidate, all the journeys and everything else, mapping those out, you have to understand what that culture is. And so when I talked about the two different football teams, you're talking about, great, the Chicago team, any of these, it's a school, all of it. Some places are, they call it the hustle culture, and that's if you're trying to hire somebody who doesn't understand that, doesn't fit into that culture, they might be the best employee, but you're burning them out because it's just not a fit for them.
Mhm.
Conversely, there might be some people who are truly driven and need to have that go, go, go. And if you're a culture that is far more a slower moving culture, or there's just not so much activity or development or growth, that might also not be the right fit. So
Yeah,
understanding those pieces as well.
yeah, I love that. And also in the book, you mention you talk a lot about connection and measuring KPIs, and you actually uh, call it out in the book, and you say connection is the real ROI. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking about this in the context of coaching and in the context of culture. And I want to ask you, if connection is part of the ROI of an organization, how do you present that to a board or to the C-suite level when it seems, at least here in the United States, that everything is money, 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 and then money? So how do you talk about the human side of things, which obviously includes connection and coaching?
Well, I think when you're talking at that level, bringing in the statistics, of course, and case
Yeah.
studies, and speaking in terms of tangible numbers and facts that can be shown. I do have case studies in my book that highlight the difference and how organizations just perform better when you've got that. And it is something that is does get lost in organizations, and typically when they're trying to accomplish a lot. So all of the reasons that you should have a connected culture where people are just willing to jump in and learn new things, try new things. Yeah, AI is a great example of that. Making sure that the team feels safe. And so when you can provide the numbers behind that and show the true value of that connection and the impact on performance, as opposed to a team that doesn't feel connected. You hear so many times about how things are siloed, and communication, all of those pieces. And I think that organizations can lose sight of what that means. Focus
Mhm.
groups are a great way to better understand what when people say they need that connection. But especially now, with so many of us being remote or hybrid or something, it is important to stop and take that time to develop that connection, so that you can work with your team and really get everything out that you can without burning them out, of course. And when I mean get everything out that you can, I don't mean having the team that works 80-90 hours a week. That there's always, I think, all of us have had times in our career where that has been the case. But what I mean is the creativity and really trying to think about problem solving, and it takes that connection, people feeling connected to the mission or the goals or the vision of the organization, but also to their team and their teammates.
Yeah, I love that. I want to ask you a question, Kim, but I'll ask it to the audience first. And I know there's a little bit of a delay, so they will be getting this in about 50 seconds after I ask it. Um, so for all of you in the audience, I want to ask you this. Let's think about feedback for 1 second. Uh, I want you to answer it in this way. In one line, you will say yes or no whether you like receiving and giving feedback. Receiving and giving feedback. So say yes or no. Then just add a slash or a bar, and in the next part of that sentence, say how do you feel if somebody comes to you to say, "I have feedback to give you." Um, Number one, do you like receiving or giving feedback? Add a slash or a bar and use one word to define how would you feel if somebody out of the blue comes to you and says, "I have some feedback to give you." So we'd love to see what you think about that. And now, Kim, I'm going to ask you, in the context of a coaching culture, if you are able to create such kind of culture, what does feedback look like or feel like?
Um, so feedback should feel natural. It should be more in real time, and it shouldn't feel like um, it's punitive. It shouldn't always be negative, of course, so it shouldn't, feedback should be a balance. You should, as you're talking about it, things like, hey, this was great. I noticed that this kind of happened during if you're in a meeting, the impact that perhaps that you weren't aware of. So it's trying to bring awareness and support in those opportunities. So whether it is the presentation was great, and I noticed when you said this and that, these people lit up and that kind of thing. So do more of that. Or um, I noticed that, well, you get nervous, you talk over people, or whatever it is, it's always the best intent. I
Yeah.
think when people feel like, oh, the feedback is always negative, it's always delayed. It really should feel like just a natural part of the conversation, the same way that you would give feedback to, people in your world, your children, your spouse, your partner, whatever that is. It should feel like it's just part of the conversation.
Yeah. Now you need the right culture for that, though. I mean, like, because if you are in the culture, in the kind of culture where feedback is used to, I don't know, berate or denigrate people instead of helping them growth, then I know a bunch of people here are saying, yes, I'm open to that. I'm excited. I'm anxious, but I'm open to it. But if your culture and you're still there for whatever reason, right? But if you're still there and that's your culture, it's I remember, like, just the example, I worked in an organization where whenever you would be called to the office of HR, and I'm sorry, I work in HR, I love HR, but hey, we can't just hide the truth of some HR functions. But whenever you would be called to the office of HR, it would always be for something negative or to be fired. And so, like, as soon as you would get a call from HR, it would be like, my gosh, I'm done. Let me just turn off my computer. I'm gone. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Maybe it is to provide some great constructive growth feedback, but because the culture was never like that, you would still be terrified to go to the meeting thinking that you were going to lose your job. So, you find a little bit of everything here, right?
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, because people feel like feedback is so challenging, managers avoid it.
Mhm.
Employees learn to um, be afraid of it, or it gives anxiety, because it is that it's when you're getting feedback, it's not, it hasn't been balanced, that relationship hasn't been developed. Some people get feedback and process feedback in different ways as well. So for sure, it takes some development on both parties. People need to be open to it, and when you have that connection and the relationship with your team, then it becomes far more open. But yes, for sure, I've definitely worked in places where that when you were getting feedback, it was a scary thing.
Yeah.
And often it felt like, well, I'm now on my way out, once that starts. So it's very unfortunate. And I think that it goes back to, the reason for the book is understanding how to start and give that feedback, so that community and that culture, even within that team, is positive, and people are open to it.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, somebody's saying here, I had a manager who would schedule a 4:30 p.m. meeting on Fridays to deliver bad news. By the way, do you and I work in the same workplace? Because that sounds about um, that workplace that I worked many, many, many years ago. But it's actually not a coincidence, by the way. We didn't work in the same workplace. Is that many workplaces behave like that, right?
Mhm.
It is Friday to give the bad news. It is always veiled in, like, a business update or whatever the heck they want to call it, and at the end of the day, whatever they decide to do on Friday, everybody will know Monday morning, even if they had already left on Friday when the bad news were given to somebody. These things can't be hidden or swept under the carpet. People find out about them. Kim, we're getting closer to. This has been a great conversation, by the way, and I'm just noticing that we're almost 40 minutes into the hour, and I want to talk about a couple of other things. Um, you and I have been exchanging a lot in multiple AI programs. So, we know all the conversations related to AI and how we continue to talk about how important it is for humans to double down on what humans, at least now, can do better than technology. So, in your view, how important it is to create a coaching culture to nurture leaders capable of providing coaching and the right level of feedback and creating the right culture in the age of AI. So that is one of my last question. And part two is we're gonna end up using AI for some components of the coaching part of coaching. I don't know what it's going to be, the follow-up, the goals, the let's record the call and have action items, whatever it is. But what role do you see AI playing in creating a coaching culture for an organization? So this two-parter to wrap up our conversation.
So I'm going to kind of flip it a little bit. One is AI is great at transactional activities. So we talk. You have, and I've built my own just tools for my own work. So how to help with content and how to help with building a Gemini gem so people can get more information on their own about benefits, things like that. So it's very good with helping with the transactional. But what that will start to highlight is areas that are opportunity areas for managers, because we can get away from some of the one-on-one conversations that are all just status updates, because we've got more AI support in doing that, and now enabling any team. I'll use HR because that's the world I live in, but any team, more strategy, more thought process, more how to really drive the business, as opposed to spending a lot of time doing transactional things. The other side of that, though, is AI is not going to be able to do things like, they trust validate, right? So you need to make sure that you have the right information. You need to make sure that your data is correct. AI isn't going to do these things for you. So understanding that trying to replace a whole workforce with AI is not going to happen, at least the way I see it. You need the people who can do the critical thinking. You need the complex problem solving. You need that creativity to drive those things. So that connection is still that safety. And if you don't have a team that feels connected and has that feedback and are working together, you're, and especially with the connection part, they're actually not going to leverage the tools and resources. AI is everywhere. I mean, it has been. Siri is AI, right? So we've been interacting with it far before ChatGPT was launched, but now it is a tool and resource to really help make things efficient and improve things. And as far as in coaching, I had mentioned my app. I think that there's some challenges with some of the coaching, AI coaching platforms, if it doesn't have the right framework and the right tools. Because as I think we've all experienced, if you are trying to do coaching with just ChatGPT, it's going to tell you a little bit more about like how you want to approach things, because it's trying to make you happy. So that's a great idea to just go and fire somebody. That is the right move, and I support that. Those are the things, and that's being facetious, but those are the
not really, by the way, not really. It's actually happening. Yeah.
Yeah, this is true. I'm sorry. Yes, it is. And so, and I think that the spirit and the nature of the tool that I built as well is really focusing on um, putting the preparing somebody to have a meaningful conversation, and having those coaching conversations. So the right tools will guide you through conversations and help you develop, but prepare you to have a conversation with your whether you're a project manager or a manager or aspiring leader, just those kinds of things that prepares you to have those more meaningful
Yeah.
conversations, as opposed to just telling you, yeah, that's great, just go out and fire them. That's the right move.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And you know this because you've been, with me in my programs, but in the AI programs anyway. But I talk about four layers of readiness or four levels of readiness, and one of those is cultural readiness.
Mhm.
So you can't really, and we're seeing it, by the way, we're seeing a lot of companies saying, "Oh yes, we're more efficient and we have gained productivity, but there's no more revenue, and we're not creating new products, we're not innovating faster." So you got to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, what's going on? That we have this powerful technology, and we are still not seeing the ultimate value that is behind its promise. And there can be multiple ways to think about that, but one of them is that if people they don't feel psychologically safe to say when something goes wrong with technology, or when they don't feel comfortable using it for something, or when they see something that is wrong and they let it go, then you don't
Mhm.
have that's one of the multiple components of cultural readiness, right? And cultural readiness is also the coaching component of let's make sure that our people double down on what it means to be human in the workplace, while leveraging the incredible power of these tools. And for that, you do need coaching, and coaching depends on culture. It won't be changed by AI. It will, the goodness or the badness of AI, of culture, will be amplified by AI. So people have a choice to make
Mhm.
right now. um, Kim, one last question. I know you have a discount available for people who want to purchase the book. Do you have the website or how to get access to that discount that we can share right now? If not, we can send
Yeah.
it via email to the attendees.
Yeah, I can share. I can share it right here. I have access to chat. Do I have access to chat?
No, you won't be able to put it. You can put it in
I,
there, but it's not
I
going to
can send.
show on LinkedIn.
Okay, I can send it to you, or what's
Yes.
the best way to do it? Okay.
Yeah, send it over to me, and I will replicate that with the yes, it's a little bit of a longer. Let me see if I can show it on the screen. I don't think I can. Um, I'm just gonna post. I'm gonna post it on LinkedIn. Don't go away yet.
Perfect.
I'm actually gonna post it directly on LinkedIn because sadly, if we post it in the comments here where you and I are right now, it won't
Hmm.
show on LinkedIn. So don't go
Okay.
away yet. Let me share it. Everybody, don't go away. Stay here because I want to share this with you so that you have access to this to the discount code that Kim is so generously sharing with us for her book, Building a Coaching Culture. There it is. You have it in the chat right now. Click on it, have it open, get it done after the call, after the session today. Kim, thank you so much for number one, for giving us a discount to our
Yeah.
community. Thank you for sharing all these amazing insights with me and everybody else tuning in. We have a bunch of people in here, so hopefully they all get the book and build a coaching culture in their organization. So I appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you do for the HR community, particularly through your work here in Hacking HR. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. I love the conversation.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. I will see you probably next week. I think next week we're going to have another interview with another phenomenal friend of the community. So stay tuned. More coming. Thank you so much, everybody. Be safe. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you, Kim. I'll see you in 1 second. Thank you, everybody.